Again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We hope everyone enjoyed dinner prepared by Chef William Alexander and served by the staff of this wonderful new facility. Please feel free to adjust your chairs now so that you have a good view of the screen and of the podium. All the action will be up here and on the screen. While you are on your feet, please raise your glass or the glass nearest you in a toast to Claudette and Danny Shea, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary tomorrow. So, here's to our peerless props personnel. Congratulations. We open with a screened, excuse me, I'm choking on my toast. We open with a screened overview of our first 80 years.
Putting it together, piece by piece, only way to make a work of art. Every moment makes a contribution, every little detail plays a part. Having just a vision's no solution, everything depends on execution. Putting it together, that's what counts.
Ounce by ounce, putting it together. Small amounts, adding to make a work of art. First of all, you need a good foundation. That's why it's risky from the start. Takes a lot of earnest conversation.
But without the proper preparation,
Having just the vision's no solution.
everything depends on execution.
The art of making art is putting it together.
Note by note, working on projection. Lips, teeth, throat, looking for a moment to inhale. Keeping the emotional connection, even when your fellow actors fail.
Pointing out the subtext by inflection.
Helping your director reach perfection.
Even though you have a strong objection to the way she's handling the direction. Art isn't easy. Every minor detail is a major decision. Have to keep things in scale. Have to hold to your vision. Even when you're feeling apprehensive, that you're looking bland and inoffensive.
And you wish your wardrobe was extensive.
Forget that spangles are expensive. Beat by beat, losing inhibition.
Head and feet, trying to relax but not too much. Trying to lay out the exposition, but without exposing it as such.
Trying to perform but not audition. Trying to establish recognition. Trying to persuade the electrician that he should destroy the competition.
Art isn't easy, not easy. Every word, every line, every glance, every movement to improve and refine, then refine each improvement. Bit by bit, putting it together. Piece by piece, working on the vision night and day. But it takes time and perseverance, dealing with details along the way. Dealing with producers interfering.
Waiting for the author's disappearance.
Filling up a hole with animation.
Covering the flaws in the construction.
Lacking any scenic ostentation.
This is not a Macintosh production.
Every tiny syncopation, with a tiny orchestration.
Working for a tiny compensation, hoping for a under-restoration. The art of making art is putting it together. Bit by bit, part by part. Bit by bit, start by start, stride by stride, kit by kit, glide by glide, stick by stick, side by side, by side, by side, by side, by side. And that is the state of the art.
Well, it's a wonderful life, isn't it? When our town can celebrate 80 years of entertainment by the Brockville Theatre Guild. The whole town is talking about us. And yes, it has been touch and go at times. and rumors ran rampant from time to time of suppressed desires. But here we are, lovers and friends, the women, lovers and other strangers, the odd couple, playboy of the Western world, ladies in retirement, 10 little Indians, and even the last of the red-hot lovers, all gathered here tonight to review and celebrate our illustrious past. And speaking of illustrious past, it was at this point that I intended to introduce Marjorie Alexander, the grand dame of the Brockville Theatre Guild. Unfortunately, ill health prevented her from attending tonight. She's on her way to Toronto, and we wish her a speedy recovery. We will pass around a greeting card for you to sign so that we can present that to her later when she's back home and recuperating. And we will include the program from tonight, and I know we all wish her well and will miss her. She was to read a tribute to our founder, Dr. J.L. Carroll. I will now read that. What a dynamic, enthusiastic, and imaginative person he was. Dr. J.L. Jack Carroll enjoyed theater. But in 1929, traveling shows were becoming passé. Vaudeville was dying. In larger cities such as Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, a new movement was underway. Little theater. Would Brockville support such a thing? Dr. Carroll and Reverend Dr. A.F.C. Wally of St. Peter's Players thought so. And so began a quest to establish a theater group for all Brockvillians. The first few plays were presented in St. Peter's Church Hall. By 1933, however, the group was ready to go public, with 157 members all paying $1 memberships. When Dr. Carroll established the Guild, along with the other charter members, he vowed to invite criticism as a learning tool. He constantly attended plays and drama festivals, invited learned actors and directors to give lectures to the Brockville group, set up a play reading group, and ran local drama festivals, all the while acting in and directing several plays a year. In 1937, when the local entry in the regional festival was George Bernard Shaw's Candida, the Guild was informed by the publisher that they could not give the permission needed to perform the play. Anyone but Dr. Carroll would have given up. He, however, went straight to the top, sending a telegram to George Bernard Shaw himself, asking permission to perform the play. Permission was granted. Not one, but 2 telegrams to that effect are part of the carefully preserved archives of the Theatre Guild. By 1938, the Brockville Theatre Guild, a pioneer in little theatre movement in Canada, won its first regional Eastern Ontario Drama League trophy for the best play and traveled to Winnipeg for the Dominion Drama Festival. Perhaps his crowning achievement was directing the Thornton Wilder play, Our Town, which won the regional EODL Festival for Best Play in Ottawa in 1950, and represented our eastern region in the Dominion Drama Festival in Calgary, Alberta, the whole railway carload of them. At that festival, he declared that he had attended every one of the Dominion Drama Festivals held since 1932, as an actor, director, or as a member of the Drama Festival Board of Governors. He died in January of 1964, but his dream of a little theater group in Brockville is now 80 years old. May we who are left perpetuate his dream and keep theater alive in Brockville. We now have an overview of Dr. Carroll on the video. Not only has the Brockville Theatre Guild provided generations of talented actors and backstage personnel the opportunity to display their talents locally, they have also been a stepping stone to the world of professional theatre. Through the magic of YouTube, we hear from several of the people. And first we have another success story involving a Brockville Theatre Guild alumni, Peter Jennings. Peter Charles Archibald Ewart Jennings, with a name like that, he had to be destined for greatness, was born in Toronto and raised in Ottawa. He dreamed of following his famous father, Charles, into broadcasting, but his first job was as a bank teller in Ottawa. He hoped for a transfer to Havana. Instead, he was transferred to Prescott. And then to Brockville. While a student in Ottawa, he had appeared in a few productions of the Orpheus Society. Perhaps that experience helped him land a position in the news team of the local radio station, CFJR, and a part in the Brockville Theatre Guild production of My Three Sons in 1960. Lured to the CBC in Ottawa and then to CJOH, he became co-anchor of its late-night show, The National News, by the age of 24. His reporting of news events on location from points in the U.S. caught the attention of the president of ABC News. It was as news anchor on ABC World News Tonight that his 22-year career ended due to his untimely death. His famous sign-off had been, "Have a good evening, thanks, and good night." Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David Austin.
Happy anniversary, Brockville Theatre Guild. This is David Lloyd Austin from a long time ago. The city of Brockville is very dear to me because this is where our daughter Kate was born. Well, Kate is now 35 and works for a movie company in the UK. But the Brockville Theatre Guild is where it all started for me, and to which I'm entirely grateful. I started with the acting under the great direction of Sue Braden, of course, and then worked alongside of Stan Pierce, the late great Stan Pierce, and then we did he played Fagin tonight, Bill Sykes in Oliver. And then that's where, and the Brockville Theatre Guild is where I started directing, and I think quite successfully. Two of my favourites was Wait Until Dark, and then of course, Guys and Dolls. My family and I then moved out to the West Coast, where I directed, until Mr. Stallone wanted a look-alike, a character which he had to look alike for his Rocky IV movie. And so, but I told his producers that I'm not a look-alike. I'm not. I am a professional actor who happens to look like the character which he has. So that has to reflect in my rate of pay, and we did. They boosted it. So. Anyway, so from then, of course, Naked Gun, and then Billy Crystal's HBO special, Midnight Train to Moscow, and all around the world. And Japan 5 times, commercials in Sweden, throughout the States. So it was very, very successful for me. But that all comes from working with the guild. I always remember somebody telling us, just have the guts to get up and go and do it, And that's when I started acting for the guild. So that's always been in the back of my mind there, So in 2008 then, I retired and I cut back on a lot of my directing on the West Coast because I was going to spend 6 months on the West Coast in the summer, the beautiful summers, and then the other 6 months throughout the winter in Mexico, which I've been doing now for 5 years. And there I write, direct, produce theatre. And most of it is for charity, so they can raise funds. A couple of weeks ago, I chased another dream I've had for a long time. That's to write screenplays for Hollywood. And I got up and had that guts to get up and go, and went down to Los Angeles and pitched 2 of my screenplays to 30 Hollywood producers. And a little bit nervous, believe me, but again, in the back of my mind, it was always that what I learned at the Brockville Theatre Guild, go out and do it, And it's proven very successful now. I'm getting requests for my screenplays. So above all, again, the Brockville Theatre Guild has been incredibly influential for me. Absolutely, totally, And that's why I wish the Guild and everybody there who I've known for years, happy anniversary. Thanks.
Who can forget Dave playing Teddy in Arsenic and Old Lace? Actually, the Brockville Theatre Guild produced that classic twice, in 1961 with Marjorie Alexander in the cast, and more recently in 1978, featuring several people who are in this room tonight. One of those, Mary Robertson, will read the part of Abby, one of the 2 elderly sisters. Rosie Theriault will join her as her sister Martha. And the part of Mortimer, their beloved nephew, will be read by Will Wright. This segment finds the 3 of them in the parlor, with Mortimer about to make a startling discovery.
When are you going to be married? What are your plans? There must be something more you can tell us about Elaine.
Elaine, oh, yes. Elaine thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, when Elaine comes back, I think we ought to have a little celebration. We must drink to your happiness. Martha, isn't there some of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
And I'll open a bottle of wine.
And to think it happened in this room.
Now, where could I have put that chapter?
Well, with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight, I do hope the play will be something you can enjoy for once. It may be something romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh dear.
When the curtain goes up, the first thing you'll see will be a dead body. And Abby!
Yes, dear?
You were going to make plans for Teddy to go to that, sanitarium, Happydale.
Yes, dear, it's all arranged. Dr. Harper was here today and brought the papers for Teddy to sign. Here they are.
He's got to sign them right away.
Well, that's what Dr. Harper thinks. Then there won't be any legal difficulties after we pass on.
He's got to sign them right this minute.
Oh, there's no such hurry as that.
No, when Teddy starts working on the canal, you can't get his mind on anything else.
Teddy's got to go to Happydale now, tonight.
Oh, no, dear. That's not until we're gone.
Right away, I tell you, right away.
Why, Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? Why, as long as we live, we'll never be separated from Teddy.
Listen, darlings, I'm frightfully sorry, but I've got some shocking news for you. Now, we've all got to try to keep our heads. You know, we've sort of humored Teddy all these years because we thought he was harmless.
Why, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he's got to go to Happydale. Why he has to be confined.
Mortimer, why have you suddenly turned against Teddy, your own brother?
You've got to know sometime. It might as well be now. Teddy's killed a man.
Oh, nonsense, dear.
There's a dead body in the window seat.
Yes, dear, we know.
You know?
Of course, dear, but it has nothing to do with Teddy.
Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
Forget?
We never dreamed you'd peek.
But who is he?
His name is Hoskins. Adam Hoskins. That's really all I know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
That's all you know about him? What's he doing here? What happened to him?
He died.
Aunt Martha, men don't just get into window seats and die.
No, he died first.
How?
Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
Well, how did the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
You put it in the wine?
Yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
So you knew what you'd done, and you put him in the window seat because you didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, no, not at tea. That wouldn't have been very nice. Now, Mortimer, you know the whole thing. Just forget about it. I do think Martha and I have the right to our little secrets.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
There's a body in there.
Yes, Mr. Hoskins.
Good heavens, I can't turn you over to the police, but what am I going to do?
Well, for one thing, dear, stop being so excited.
And for pity's sake, stop worrying. We told you to forget about the whole thing.
Forget, my dear Aunt Abby, can't I make you realize that something has to be done?
Now, Mortimer, you behave yourself. You're too old to be flying off the handle like this.
But Mr. Hotchkiss!
Hoskins, dear.
Well, whatever his name is, you can't leave him in there.
Well, we don't intend to.
No, Teddy's down in the cellar now, digging the lawn.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Oh, yes, dear. That's what we did with the others.
No, you can't bury Mr. Others.
The other gentleman.
Now, when you say others, you mean others, as in more than one others?
Oh, yes, dear. Let me see. This is 11, isn't it, Abby?
No, dear, this makes 12.
Oh, I think you're wrong, Abby. This is only 11.
No, dear, because I distinctly remember when Mr. Hoskins first came in, it occurred to me that he would just make an even dozen.
Well, you really shouldn't count the first one.
Oh, I was counting the first one. That makes it 12.
12!
12.
I'm sure many of you remember Lorraine Bainan and Lois Lorimer. We have a visit from them via YouTube now.
80 years of entertaining the community. Bravo to the Brockville Theatre Guild. I was only 16 years old when I had the exciting opportunity to be in a BTG production. I still remember how thrilled I was and how the rest of the cast and crew supported and mentored me. The play was The Candle of Kilmore, the director, Ken Kramer. This was an important stepping stone on my journey to the professional theater. A few decades later, I had 2 more opportunities to work on Brockville Theatre Guild productions. This time as director. The plays were The Odd Couple and Crimes of the Heart. I will always fondly remember those experiences. Thank you, BTG, for the wonderful memories.
Hello, I'm Lois Lorimer, and I'd like to say congratulations to the Brockville Theatre Guild on its 80th anniversary. And I'd like to thank the members of the Brockville Theatre Guild for helping me and other people in Brockville believe in the enchantment and wonder of the theater and realize that we had a leaping off point for our own careers. I remember being 16 years old in the Cherry Orchard in Brockville. I believe we had a professional director. I remember Marjorie Alexander, Nancy Fraser, Shelley Graham, and others, and what a wonderful production it was. I also recall having costume fittings with Pauline and wearing real 19th century dresses. As I went on in theatre to the National Theatre School and the Shaw Festival, I realized how important those early years in Brockville were. Not only the Civic Auditorium, now the Brockville Arts Centre with its wonderful stage and backstage and art and his white dog, but the wonderful productions that I was taken to at the theatre, and then being actually able to be in one was a great thrill for me and one I will always remember. Have a wonderful party this weekend, and best wishes to Pat Marshall and Joy Goodfellow, Barry Whiteland, Peter Galvin, Michael Trussell, and to all of you who through the years and a lot of hard work have managed to instill inspiration and the love of theatre in many of us, provided such great entertainment, and helped promote wonderful culture in Brockville. I thank you.
Joy Goodfellow directed Steel Magnolias for the Brockville Theatre Guild in 2010. Laura Oliver will now read Melin's heart-wrenching lines from the part she portrayed on stage as Shelby's mother.
I feel fine. I feel great. I could jog to Texas and back, but my daughter can't. She never could. I'm so mad, I don't know what to do. I want to know why. I want to know why Shelby's life is over. How is that baby ever going to understand how wonderful his mother was? Will he ever understand what she went through for him? I don't understand. Lord, I wish I could. It is not supposed to happen like this. I'm supposed to go first. I've always been ready to go first. I can't stand this. I just want to hit somebody until they feel as bad as I do. I just want to hit something and hit it hard. Shelby, as you know, would not want us to get all mired down and wallow in this. She would just look upon this as one of life's little occurrences. We should deal with it the best way we know how and just get on with it. And that's what my mind says. I wish somebody would tell that to my heart. It's interesting. Both the boys were very difficult births. I almost died when Jonathan was born. Very difficult births. Shelby was a breeze. I could have gone home that afternoon that I had her. I was thinking about that as I sat next to Shelby while she was in the coma. I would work her legs and arms to keep her circulation going. I told the ICU nurse that we were doing our Jane Fonda. I stayed there. I kept on pushing, just like I always have where Shelby was concerned, hoping she'd sit up and argue with me. But finally, we realized there was no hope. At that point, I panicked. I was very afraid that I would not survive the next few minutes while they turned off the machines. Drum couldn't take it. He left. Jackson couldn't take it. He left. It struck me as amusing. Man, I was supposed to be made of steel or something. But I could not leave. I just sat there, holding Shelby's hands, while the sounds got softer and the beeps
got farther and farther apart. There was no noise, no tremble, just peace. I realized as a woman how lucky I was. I was there when this wonderful person drifted into my world, and I was there when she drifted out. It was the most precious moment in my life thus far.
I now direct you to the screen for visits with Rod Carley and Aaron McKinnon.
My mother was 1 year old and navigating diapers when the Brockville Theatre Guild presented its inaugural production. Growing up in the 70s in Brockville, I think I was very, very lucky, as a lot of us were, because we didn't have the internet or video games or cell phones or twittering and tweetering like we have now, and so we didn't have the distractions. So that meant we had to come up with our own amusements and use our own imaginations, and for me that was books. And then when I was later in grade school, I first went to the Stratford Festival, and that began the life-influencing power of theater on me, which in high school became the Brockville Theatre Guild. And I was primarily a patron of the Theatre Guild, going to see shows throughout high school. I think my first memory of the Theatre Guild was I went to see Arts to Good Old Lace, and it was Stan Pierce and Barry Whiteland as Jonathan and Einstein. I remember Peter Gelvin as Mortimer and Dave Austin as Teddy in that. Sue Braden, of course, is one of the Brewster sisters, and Chris Puddicombe, I believe, was Detective O'Hara. And then I saw Chris again in a production of Wait Until Dark, which was absolutely chilling. And I have fond memories of seeing Move Over Mrs. Markham with, again, the incomparable Stan Pierce and Richard Tudor Price. And later in high school, my good chum and colleague, Mike Healy, was in a production of Bedroom Farce with another good high school friend, Marie Antonakis, and Roger Tripp was in that, and Betty Hunter, who I got to know. And after that, I went off to York and went to acting school, to theater school. And I was home in my first year from theater school, and it was 1982, and it was the ULDL Drama Festival, which Brockville was hosting. And Brockville won that festival with a production of Jitters. And I remember Betty Alexander and Wiltsey Hatfield being just fantastic in that, and of course Barry and Mike were in that show. And I think Wiltsey, I worked with Wiltsey before. I was more involved with the Rob Burdick Society doing musicals like Music Man and Guys and Dolls, which Dave Austin directed in South Pacific, which is where I met Joy Goodfellow and Mary Ross, who have done so much for the community as well. And from that point on, I finished theater school and I was off sort of in the wilderness and pursued my career. And I remember in the early 90s, I got a phone call from Nancy Fraser, who invited me down to Brockville to do an acting workshop for a weekend, which I did. And it was wonderful going home. And that led to then an experience which is still a highlight of my life, one of the most enjoyable chapters in my whole career of professional theater. And that was the invite down to direct the show, to guest direct the show for the Theatre Guild. And that was The Passion of Dracula, almost 20 years ago in the fall of '94. And that was just a wonderful time. The Guild was right behind me with my vision for that show. And there are actors in that show, Doug Burrs, Sam Mackey, Art McKinsey, Mike Trussell, lifelong friends. I remember Derek Clayton and Laura Oliver and Cliff Knox and Ben Sugarman and a young Matt Lundville. And that wonderful experience became the catalyst for developing outdoor Shakespeare productions, which brought me home for 4 consecutive summers to Brockville for Riverfest. And Hamlet and Julius Caesar and Coriolanus. And what was wonderful was a lot of that Dracula cast were involved in those shows, but other Guild members, Barry Whiteland and Roger Tripp and Pat Marshall, and then young actors, Aaron McKinnon, who later went on to become a professional actress, and Matt Lundville as well, and Zane Alexander. And that was just a wonderful time with the Guild, and I have such great memories of those years. And I guess when I think about it, how much the Guild had an influence in giving me the theater bug. And I'm so glad that I've never been cured of that bug. And so, congratulations, Brockville Theatre Guild, on your 80th anniversary. And I just want to raise a glass to those members who are no longer with us, but whose incredible performances and work still live in our hearts and souls. And thank you again for some wonderful living memories.
I was honored and excited to have this opportunity to share with you all what an impact the Brockville Theatre Guild made on my life. Peter Galvin took a chance on me and cast me in my first Theatre Guild play when I was just 14. And even though I was so young, everybody embraced me and mentored me and treated me like a peer. The shows I did with the Theatre Guild gave me a passion for the theatre that I have carried with me my entire life. I'm so grateful to have been exposed to the arts by such a nurturing group of people, and it really gave me the courage to follow my dreams. After my time at the Theatre Guild, I went to George Brown Theatre School. I graduated, and now I live in Toronto with my husband and 2-year-old daughter, and I have been working as an actor for the past 13 years. Earlier this year, I was in Calgary working on 2 new Canadian plays with Alberta Theatre Project. This summer, I was a little closer to home at Upper Canada Playhouse, where I did a show there. I went on to do The Melville Boys, and next week I start rehearsals for Doubt at the Rose Theatre in Brampton. And because of all the support and encouragement I received from the Theatre Guild as a young performer, I feel proud and fortunate to make my living doing something I love. So I just wanted to say thank you for all your help that you gave me on my journey, and congratulations on 80 years and to many, many more.
Our videographer, Todd Noel, has interviews of life members of the Brockville Theatre Guild to share with you now.
That was my first play was Ladies in Retirement in 1974.
Oh, Jitters in 1981. Peter Galvin wrote me in as stage manager. Thank goodness I managed to get into a more comfortable role as a member of the set construction crew. Unfortunately, working with so many talented set designers and willing crew members over the years, including It's a Wonderful Life next month.
That's easy to remember because I auditioned for the Theatre Guild. It was Shirley Ashenden, and she was doing the gazebo. And I was about 8 months pregnant when I auditioned, and we never met each other before, but anyhow, we seemed to click, and I couldn't believe I got the part. And luckily, rehearsals didn't start for another 3 or 4 months, so it all worked out just fine.
I think it has to be that when I first came to Brockville, I was so interested in the Theatre Guild, and to hear that they were hunting for an ingenue, and my goodness, at that time I was an ingenue. And it was wonderful when they asked me to play the part. It wasn't that big a part, you know, in our town, but it was a part that I wanted.
Well, the first play I was involved in was Any Wednesday. It was directed by Chris Worsnop and Sue Braden. When I first came out, I thought I'd try a bit of method acting, and one of my pet actors was De Niro. And if you ever watch De Niro, he tends to deliver and then move off and then come back into delivery. And so I thought that that's what I would do. I would deliver and I would look off. And I heard this voice coming from the director's chair saying, "What are you looking over there for?"
Devin and Daniel Webster, directed by Keith Fowler. So I was given the part of the young bride. That was wonderful. And we had just acquired the Brockville Civic Auditorium, as it was then called, and so we could actually perform on the stage of what was once a movie theater.
The first play was 10 Little Indians. I was a prompter. Roger Tripp got me involved, I guess to keep me happy that you were out of the house so much.
In the mid-1970s, the play was called See How They Run. was directed by Sue Braden, and it too was a comedy, included a large number of clergymen, of whom I was one. I think I was the Reverend Toop. It was exciting for me because the Saturday we moved into the theatre, I woke up in Melbourne, Australia, and I had to fly back in a hurry to appear in the show. And I remember that day having breakfast 4 times. Once in Melbourne, once in Sydney, once in Hawaii, once in Vancouver, all on Saturday.
My favourite moment, that would be, I think after the festival, when Jitters won so many awards. I chaired it with Joy Goodfellow, and we had a great committee, and it was just a wonderful feeling to know that it was a success all the way around, and that Brockville was well represented and won.
My favorite moment or moments is directing. I think that's where I derive the most enjoyment. What I liked about it is the fact that you get this ensemble of people. Some have never worked before, never had the opportunity to act. Some have had experience. You watch them growing as individuals. And eventually, if you're lucky, it comes together into a cohesive product that tells the truth, which is what it's all about.
Well, we'll have to go a little bit forward. We'll have to go into the 1970s. And I had, by this time, become a director of plays, and the favorite moment was with the EODL Festival in the early 70s. We had presented, we were presenting Gingerbread Lady. We had to go to Peterborough. That was where the festival was held. And it was in May. But there was a freak heavy snowstorm. The roads were impassable, and the EODL requirements were that the curtain went up at 8 o'clock in the evening, and there were no exceptions of any kind. The crew didn't get there till late in the afternoon. They had to unload the truck, they had to set up on this strange stage, and as the audience came in, you could hear hammer, hammer, bang, bang. The audience sat down, but we knew the curtain had to open at 8 o'clock. Hammer, hammer, bang, 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 Russell. 8 o'clock struck, the curtains parted, and there was the set. Perfect. They managed it. So my congratulations to all stage crews, and especially that one.
Well, I guess, you know what, I think the day I was cast as the lead in our town, well, the female part was the lead really, and also the day that they phoned me and asked me if I would play Madame Ranevskaya in the Cherry Orchard. That was a big, big plus. I wanted that part so badly. And you know, you get to a point when you're in the theater for a while, you know, people start saying, well, she gets all the good parts, and it's time for somebody else to step in. I was just hoping I would be good enough to do that. And then to win an award for it, it was super.
Well, that would be when the audience started applauding. When the curtains opened to reveal the set for The Odd Couple in 2011. And that was before a single word had been spoken by the talented cast.
My favourite moment with the Brockville Theatre Guild was in a one-act play at Bancroft. We were directed by Joy Goodfellow, and Pat Marshall and I did a very simple little comedy one-act play called Dutch Treat, and we won the one-act festival to our great surprise and joy.
Oh, well, the favorite performer. We didn't have bloopers, my dear. We couldn't afford to have bloopers, but there was one funny one. You see, in the theater, you were in a play one semester or whatever. The next one, you had to work backstage. So Polly Billings and I were setting the set for this. And there was a bottle of wine on a lovely silver tray with the wine glasses all there, you know, and we had to provide the wine. Well, she had to make it, and she made it out of Jell-O, without thinking that the Jell-O would set. Yes, it didn't. So we were going like this, and then we flopped. And of course, the audience by this time were in hysterics. And so were we. We were shaking so we could hardly get it in the glass.
We did a performance at the lovely old theatre in Cornwall of Move Over Mrs. Markham. Again, a rather silly little comedy. At one point was the discovery of a letter, which some infidelity or something, and was required to be found on the couch by me. So I sit down on the couch, no letter. Fortunately, I had done a little plan B, and I had a spare letter in my pocket, which was instantly added to the sofa, and I don't think the audience noticed, but my heart rate was very high.
Well, one of the interesting times was one play a long time ago in Up the Down Staircase that you were in, that one of the students came in about 5 pages too early. So you cut them out of class, being a good teacher that you were.
Bishop Abupa. We were doing Osnick and Old Lace. And Sheila Shanks and I were the old ladies, really growing into the part now. It was a lot of fun. It was a great cast. And we had borrowed a lot of furniture from Fulford Place. So there it is on the stage. We did a lot of that in those days. And I think it was the Friday night. The heavens opened. The rain was pouring. The roof of the old theatre was not that good. And good old Sam Mackey decided, because it started to be a small leak, to climb up into the rafters with some huge tarpaulin and lay it across to catch the leak, which was sort of brilliant because we were aware of a little drop on stage. We carried on regardless, but apparently this thing filled up into a small lake, and eventually poor Sam was up there. Couldn't do anything about it, and it collapsed, and this waterfall came down. Most of the cast were covered. Some of the Fulford furniture was covered. It was really, and having to sort of carry on and pretend, what was that going on? It was not easy, but we all plowed through it. Poor Sam, up he was with his lake of water left on the stage. It was a funny moment.
I can't think of one. Everything's worked out as planned.
My favorite was doing I'm Herbert when we were in Merrickville in Festival. We had performed the play before, a 2-person play with Peter Galvin directing and acting. And for some reason, the laughter after one of the lines threw me. And I paused, wondering what the next line was. And Peter fed it to me in a roundabout way, and we continued. The adjudicator afterwards said that she enjoyed the dramatic pause and had hoped that we would put more in them. But that one was dramatic enough for me. Thank you very much.
I think the time Pat Marshall and I were doing the one-act festival in Merrickville, we were doing Herbert. We were maybe several pages into the performance, and Pat hung up on a line, which seemed like 10 years of time. And we're both rocking on those rocking chairs. And I got my binoculars looking for birds. Pat's got her flash water and paper. And we're filling time like a couple old farts. I'm looking for a line for Pat. I'm sure Pat's brain is looking for a line to get home. I just said, the cat's got your tongue, huh? And the line she needed was, you always could mix me up back then when we went to Europe. We were back on track. The real fun of the whole thing, the upshot of the whole thing is, it seemed like hours of time went by. The adjudicator said, I particularly liked that pause earlier on in the play. She said, the play could probably use 2 or 3 more of those pauses. Pat and I were dying. We laughed so much about that afterwards. So every time we performed it, and we performed it 20 times at least, we always said, should we throw in another couple of those pauses? But we never did.
I'm like to thank my gym teacher, Vivian O'Neill. I acted up in gym class, and she told me and my friend who was with me in on the act, that if we wanted to act up, we could act in the variety concert coming up in the spring. That was the start of the whole thing. I got the bug.
Oh, I could thank so very many people all the way along the way, but I think actually I have to say thank you, God, for giving me this talent that I have, and that's where it comes from. You have to have a God-given talent. It's in your heart.
Oh, a great many people. I think I'd particularly like to thank Sue Braden for getting me back into theatre. I hadn't been back into it, been in it for several decades before that play I mentioned, See How They Run. And but I'd also like to thank a great many people who I work with, front stage, backstage, front of house, and the many friends that I made before, during, and after Theatre Guild productions.
Renata Henderson. In addition to being a good friend, she was a fantastic leader of the set construction crew for many years, and she provided me with my biggest surprise. I still don't know how she convinced the board of directors to appoint me as a life member in 2001. I have difficulty in understanding why I'm only one of 11 members so honoured in our 8-year history.
Well, and I would thank Roger Tripp. He was an excellent director, and he got me into producing, and he used to work months and months and months in advance to have his plays ready before he did them. And Roger was sometimes difficult to work with because he had a very clear idea on what he wanted, and everybody knew that.
I hate to say it because there are too many names that I leave out. Shirley Ashenden for being so involved in the beginning, and she was a wonderful director, and Nancy Fraser, and Pauline Grant, of course, was a wonderful costumes person. She was amazing. There were just so many people. We had wonderful guest directors come in. I don't know, I don't know, in all my involvement with the Guild, there've just been so many people and so many good times, fun times. I wish I could do it more now.
Well, firstly, let me go in order, not necessarily order of importance, but definitely order of people that impacted me. And the first one is Pauline Grant, which probably some people don't know about. Pauline, she went beyond being an actor. She had done some acting, but she certainly did sets. I learned a lot of set construction from Pauline in detail, aging of sets, you know, and knew how to create the effects with spongings and cheesecloths and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of great stuff for that. Plus, she was the keeper of the costumes for years and years and years, meticulous order, and which was vital to the Guild. I mean, the reason we have so much of that stuff today is largely in part to Pauline's involvement. So she gave all this selfless time to that, and to me, that's what stands out with people, you know, that I've had the opportunity to know over the years. Another person was, of course, Stan Pierce, who was an excellent actor, singer. He could dance. His movement on stage was just beautiful. Wish I had more opportunity to work with him. Fortunate for me, I did get to work with him in the operatic as well as with the Guild. Another gal that I really loved, who unfortunately didn't do enough, but I got to work with her, I got to direct her, and was Edith Shepard. Edith was a natural. When she had it, and it was solid. She just knew how to turn the phrase. She was just so natural about it. And of course, my dear friend Marjorie, great person to direct, but to really disappear into a character, to disappear, and then when those lines are delivered, you listen. They mean something. And Marjorie has it. And I'd also like to remember all of those people that were on the Music Theatre Board for 5 years, And prior to the fundraising, the initial fundraising campaign, who stayed the course, and there was, I think, 13 people on that board. The result of their efforts is now currently at the back of the theater, which is a music theater building. It was a $330,000 project. We did get some funding from Ontario, but the bulk of that work was done by those people. The bulk of the funds was raised by those people. The city did contribute some towards the end. And Mayor Sheridan was the one who suggested that we attach to the theater, which I thought was a very good move on his part. I think it's been very instrumental for our groups, but also for professional groups coming in. It's a great adjunct to that building, but it should always be remembered it was built by the two groups and a lot of hard work by those people involved on that board.
The Guild is excited about adding 2 new life members on this special occasion. I again call Lisa LaRue to the podium.
It gives me great pleasure as the current president of the Brockville Theatre Guild to present 2 very worthy members with the distinction of life membership to the Guild. The certificate awarded to them has the following inscription: in honor of devoted membership in the Brockville Theatre Guild and recognition of a highly active and responsible interest in community theatre. I really can't say it any better than that. Both of our 2 inductees for 2013 have been highly active, have demonstrated dedication and enthusiasm, as well as a hell of a lot of talent in their chosen area of expertise. Number 1. Since Betty Alexander's production of The Fantastics in 1978, our first inductee has been involved with the Brockville Theatre Guild. They have worked on sound, they have stage managed, and they have been known to be heard laughing and having fun backstage as they applied makeup to many of us here in this room tonight. This deserving member has also directed many productions for us over the years and continues to do so to this day. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He is an EODL award winner, served on the board of directors in the 1980s, and is a current board member at large. Please join me in congratulating our first life member for 2013, Mr. Barry Whiteland. Speech.
Really?
Yeah, do you want to? Oh, there you go, here.
Yeah, okay.
Come on up.
Oh my God. I'm not going to be one of these people that says, I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. Those words have never passed these lips. First of all and foremost, I want to thank the Brockville Theatre Guild for this honor. When you look at the life members that we have right now, and to be considered a part of that group, it really is overwhelming. Like everybody else, you get involved because it's interesting, you love it, and then the first production blends right in with the 50th. Somehow it all goes. And the only reason it does is because of the people who are involved in the Theatre Guild. I've worked with the cream of the cream in the Brockville arts community, and so many of them are here tonight. We'll see Sue Braden, oh God, I knew I shouldn't have started. But anyway, I do have to thank people like Peter and Marie Galvin. Oh my God, where would I be without them? And then the actors up there, Stan Pierce, I worked with him on Arsenic and Old Lace, and people were saying, be careful, Barry, he drinks. Well, Dave Austin and Stan Pierce taught me how to drink at the Legion. But Stan was the consummate professional on stage. I never smelled alcohol on his breath. Maybe he hid it well, I don't know. But he was just, if you could have worked with him, you would have loved it. Pauline Grant, so many shows I worked with her, and I'll never forget when we did Jitters. Mike Healy, the Governor General's Award winner, had to appear on stage in his underwear. And the first time he came out on stage in one of the rehearsals, I'll never forget this voice coming out, I can see shadow. You should look under my eyes, if you want to see shadows. But anyway, first and foremost, thank you very much. And at the end, I just like to encourage everybody who might not be able to attend a production now, or for whatever reason. When you look in a program, you'll always see sponsors, donors, benefactors, community organizations and businesses who have donated goods or services to our productions. I think it is incumbent upon us as members of the arts community who depend on their generosity to return it in kind. If you go to one of their businesses or stores, or you get one of their goods or services, please, please thank them for their generosity in supporting the arts. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So once again, thank you very much for this honor, and made me very happy, and I hope it's many, many years before I get up on that wall. Get out of here.
Thank you, Barry. As you were coming into the dining room this evening, you hopefully were able to enjoy the incomparable talents of our second inductee this year. Mr. Dave Muir has been an invaluable member of many production teams, focusing on set design, set construction, program, and poster design. He has tirelessly given his time and talents to both of Brockville's amateur theater organizations. If you are the highest bidder on one of the 6 Dave Muir prints from our silent auction, the value has just skyrocketed. Yes. We have our founder, Dr. Jack Carroll, to thank for introducing Dave Muir to our world of theater. We met with Dave earlier this week to present him with his award, as he was unable to be with us this evening, but he has sent you some words.
Hi guys, I'm really sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I'm in Kingston attending my granddaughter's wedding, an event I just can't miss. And I want to let you know how much I appreciate this award. It's like getting paid for something you really like to do. And I've got to also mention the guys that made it all happen: George Smith, Ralph Cerny, Peter Galvin, and can't forget Renata. It all started way back in about 1953 when Jack Carroll came knocking on my door and asked me to make a pappy-mashy bald head for George Rutley, for Playboy of the Western World. That got me started, and I never looked back, and I really enjoyed every bit of it.
In 1967, The Broken Jug was produced by the Brockville Theatre Guild. Present is one of the original cast members. We call on Nancy Wickwire Fraser to tell you her experiences. Please welcome Nancy, an actress, director, and life member.
Stand here or here?
Podium's good.
Podium here?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, 1967. That was Canada's centennial year. We were 100 years old in 1967. And Brockville Theatre Guild had just come through a rather tricky patch. There had been a meeting at which it was to be decided whether the guild would be dissolved or continue. And we narrowly decided that we would continue. And we would take advantage of the EODL, from which we'd been dissociated for some years, and all the money that the government was sending to amateur theater groups so that we could have the services of professional directors and set designers and so on. So, in 1967, the Eastern Ontario 3-Act Drama Festival was to be held in Cornwall, and the play had to be a Canadian play. Well, there weren't very many Canadian playwrights in 1967, so it turned out that we selected a play, The Broken Jug, which was by Don Harron, the comic, and he had adapted it. He didn't write it himself. He'd adapted it from a European play called The Inspector General. And because there weren't that many Canadian plays, Cornwall, the host theatre group, had also chosen to do The Broken Jug. Well, it was a very large cast. I was in it. I was also the first female president of the Brockville Theatre Guild at that time, yes. So Broken Jug, directed by Betty Alexander, and we started rehearsals, and we could present it on the Brockville Civic Auditorium stage. We all got to Cornwall, and because they were the host, they got to put their play on first. And we all sat in the balcony of their auditorium, and as soon as the curtain opened and we saw the principal actor, the wily, crooked Judge Adam, played by Lionel Tessier, and we saw him sitting there. The play was set in about 1812, 1814. It was colonial Canada. We had all those costumes. We had this mixed cast of French Canadians and newcomers and so on. And Adam was running the whole colony by himself to suit himself. And Adam had gout. Well, as soon as the curtain opened, there Lionel Tessier as Adam, sitting in a chair with his foot up, his gouty foot up on a stool, and the foot was wrapped in wads and wads of bandaging. The criminal in the case that was to be tried was apparently some creature that had walked through the snow to peep into the window of the glamorous new arrival, played by Helen Hughes, and had also broken the jug, precious jug that had been knocked off the wall when he was peering through the window. But who could that be? The local Indian maid said, "Footsteps in snow. Look, one foot like man, the other like bear." So, one man, the other like bear. The barefoot, of course. Guess who? It would be none other, would it, than Judge Adam himself, who had peered into the window and had broken the jug. We hadn't picked up on that. Our Judge Adam had his foot up on the stool, but it wasn't wadded in the bandages or anything. And so finally, our hearts sank. Well, the adjudicator had to say something nice about our production. So he said, there was a brilliant short scene in which 3 drunken Americans came in onto the stage with a big keg of whiskey, and they were brilliant and they acted just right. These 3 were acted by John McIntosh, Bob Barr, and John Patterson. They had about 2 minutes on stage and spent about that much time at rehearsals. And they carried the day for us. In spite of all this, we had a wonderful presenting the play, acting the play, and we all had period costumes to wear the next summer in the 1967 celebrations of Brockville's 100th year. I mean, Canada's 100th year.
Thank you, Nancy. Todd Noel, Michael Healy, and Curry Graham were all high school students playing high school students in the 1981 production of Up the Down Staircase. We now hear via YouTube how involvement in theater at the local level led to greater things for these 3.
Hello, Brockville Theatre Guild, Todd Noel here. Congratulations on 80 years of theater in Brockville. What an amazing accomplishment. To me, in my mind, the Theatre Guild and the Operatic Society are one and the same. I never really made a distinction there. They were both instrumental in providing a stage to be inspired and grow as an actor, singer. There are people from those days that really stuck out in my mind. It was Joy Goodfellow, of course, who originally got me inspired in singing. Mary Ross, Pat Marshall, Alan Wade, Tim Picott, Peter Lynch, Barry Whiteland, Roger Tripp, Wilty Hatfield, Peter Galvin, and of course, Stan Pierce. I can't tell you how inspiring it was as an 11-year-old to watch and learn from all these dedicated actors. I know I wouldn't have reached the heights I did without them, and for that I am grateful. One of the best memories I have of the Guild wasn't even on stage, actually. I was a techie in charge of 3 phones that rang independently in each bedroom. The set had 3 different bedrooms from different houses that would ring. I furiously, rigged them up and functioned and kept them functioning for the dress rehearsal. I think I was more nervous for that than any acting part I'd ever done. It gave me a lot of respect for stage crew, sure. I also want to thank Trish Galvin, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have made my audition for Canada's Wonderland. I was too nervous to go, and she dragged me out of my house, threw me in her car, and drove me to Kingston, and I got the job. That was the little push I needed, and I was off to Toronto. I have something I want to show you all. This is a result of what can happen when a group like the Theatre Guild inspires a young actor. This is me as Phantom performing in Phantom of the Opera in Calgary at the Jubilee Theatre. Thanks.
Stand up, Todd. Todd has spent countless hours putting these.
Hi, Brockville Theatre Guild. It's Michael Keeley. Nice to see you. Happy 80 years. I wanted to just talk about one of my first memories of working at the Brockville Theatre Guild. Well, one of my first memories was working I was a 17-year-old virgin, and I had been cast as a 25-year-old newlywed in a British farce that had sexual problems. And I really had no context for playing the character, but I had a lot of fun, and needless to say, I learned a lot. One of the best memories I have is just before leaving Brockville and heading to theater school in Toronto. I was in Jitters, and I played a young actor in Jitters, written by David French. And then it was just a couple of years later when I was working as an actor in Toronto and got to meet David French and told him about the experience and how much it meant to me. And I realized at that moment just what a great springboard into the world of Canadian theatre the Brockville Theatre Guild had been. So I just want to say thanks for that, and happy birthday, and I wish you 80 more years of entertaining Brockvillians and giving people like me a springboard into a career which has been amazing for me. So thanks again, take care, and all the best. Bye.
Hi, my name is Curry Graham. Happy anniversary to the Brockville Theatre Guild. I was just sitting here at work thinking about my experiences as a kid with the theater company. And I realized that for me it was a family affair. My mom, Shelley Graham, had done a number of productions. My sister, Laura Graham, had been on stage. Our dog had been on stage. My dad was being set. So I think it was inevitable. At some point, I was going to get an opportunity. That came a little later than I'd hoped. My first audition with the Brockville Theatre Guild was when I was 6 years old for the role of Tiny Tim. Great feedback. Too big to play the part. And auditioned for another show when I was, I think, 16. A production called Up the Down Staircase, which I got, which led me to catching the theater bug. And I believe that those moments that I had at the Theatre Guild allowed me to have an opportunity to think about what I wanted to do with my life. It sort of opened some doors for me artistically that I had never dreamed of. And to realize that maybe this was something something I could do for a living. Subsequently, I went off to New York and studied acting in New York and have spent the last 20 plus years making movies and doing TV series. So I have a lot of gratitude for the Brockville Theatre Guild for helping me to realize my dream. So I hope you guys have a great anniversary and know that I'm there in spirit. Thanks very much.
Also in the production Up the Down Staircase, which was directed by Roger Tripp, was first-year high school teacher Lisa Calvert LaRue playing a first-year high school teacher, a more experienced teacher, Pat Marshall, playing a more experienced teacher. What was my name? B. Thatcher, Schachter, and Tyler Champagne as Joe Ferrone, and Harold Hess as Principal J.J. McCabe will now join the two of us in a reading which deals with the young hostile student interacting with the new young teacher in a scene from Up the Down Staircase.
And I thought I might begin with first impressions and the importance of program cards, requisition slips, transportation cards, service credit cards. In the two columns labeled male and female, indicate the number of students in your home farm section born between the following dates.
You bear it.
What's this?
Late pass.
That's no way to hand it to me.
My aim is bad.
There's no need for insolence. Please take that toothpick out of your mouth when you talk to me and take your hands out of your pockets.
Which first?
What's your name?
Joe.
What's your name?
You gonna report me?
I had just about, what is your name?
Ferrone. You gonna send a letter home? Take away my lollipop? Lecture me? Spank me?
All I asked was,
Yeah, all you asked.
I don't allow anyone to talk to me like that.
So you're lucky. You're a teacher.
So unlucky. Hello, room 508, B. Schachter. You said just holler. B, help!
Having fun.
I'm having problems. I don't think I even understand the language. One of the students called me, hi, teach.
Maybe he liked you. Why not answer, hi, pupe?
No. I don't think I could bring off high puke. And the paperwork. I'm buried beneath an avalanche.
That I can clarify. Let it be a challenge to you means you're stuck with it. Keep on file in numerical order means throw in the wastebasket. Interpersonal relationship is a fight between students. Ancillary civic agencies for discipline means call the cops. Literature based on child's reading level and experiential background means that's all they've got in the book room. Non-academic minded is a delinquent. It has come to my attention means you're in trouble.
Now that I believe.
Did you get anything done in homeroom?
I took attendance as far as B. A boy fell off a chair, and I forgot to have him salute the flag, which might be illegal.
On assembly days, they salute in the auditorium. What's illegal now is Bible reading.
Moment, Miss Barrett. Was Joe Ferrone in homeroom this morning? Did he stay till the bell?
He was a little late, but he stayed to the bell.
You're certain? Well, it's important. A valuable wallet was stolen from a locker during homeroom, and I understand Ferrone was seen loitering in that vicinity just before the bell.
Then it couldn't have been him. It couldn't have been Joe. He was in homeroom.
Oh, I see. Was he any trouble?
Trouble?
Disruptive, rude, any trouble?
No, no trouble.
If you think it helps to cover for them, then you're very much mistaken.
Unless there's something else, Mr. McCabe, I'm going for a cup of coffee.
Better luck next time, McCabe.
Mr. McCabe.
Mister.
Every year I deal with a lot like you.
Why do you ask these questions? What are you trying to prove? No one in the school gives a damn. And it's the same at home and in the streets outside. You probably don't care for my language, so give me a 0 in vocabulary. Anyhow, I'm quitting the end of this term. Joining the dogs, eating dogs, and the lousy world you're educating us for. But don't worry, you'll still find plenty willing to play your game of ba ba little lambs, trot and step, and get your nice clean diplomas served on dirt. I trust this answers your question.
You express yourself vividly, Joe, and your metaphors from dogs to lambs are apt. I give you higher marks than you give yourself. Joe, before you decide to quit, we should talk. Well, this is the first time you've been early.
I missed the class before this because of McCabe.
Mr. McCabe,
He said to give you this.
please admit bearer to class. He was detained by me for going up the down staircase and subsequent insolence. J.J. McCabe.
Think of that.
Sit down, please. Did you bring your homework? Why not?
I didn't do it.
Why?
I just didn't.
Someday you'll have to prove yourself, Joe. You have so much you're not using. You could read.
I'm supposed to accelerate at my own speed. Supposed to compete with myself. Well, maybe I'm not so hot.
I happen to know your IQ, Joe, and it's pretty hot. We have a test today, so hurry along, please, and turn in your homework.
Homework? Somebody stole my homework.
It's like this. I fell asleep on the subway because I stayed up all night doing my homework. And so when I stopped at my station, I ran through the door not to be late and left my homework on the subway. As I was taking down the assignment, my ballpoint stopped. I had to study French, so I had no time for English. My brother took my homework instead of his homework.
The page was missing from my book.
If a teacher wants to know something, why doesn't she look it up herself? Why does she bother to ask we students?
There's no room because my uncle, whatever he did, moved in. and I have to sleep in the hall. I can't use the kitchen table.
The baby spilled milk all over it.
In those hours when I have to do homework, I can watch TV.
What homework?
I hate to tell you this, a terrible tragedy, but my dog went on my homework.
What's the answer to, question 4?
I don't think we covered this part.
No talking. Please, do your best.
Hey, some of these questions...
Don't waste time. Just do your paper, Charles.
I'm not cheating. I'm left-handed.
Since 5 minutes ago?
All right, I'll do it with my right. Anything you say, Teach.
You may fool them, but you don't fool me. You're even phonier than the others because you put on this act. Being a dame, you know how. Pretending you give a damn. Just who do you think you're kidding?
Anything else, Joe?
Nothing else. Nothing. Too bad I can't believe you, that's all.
Have you had a chance to go over Joe Ferrone's examination paper?
Of course, and so did Mr. Mister.
I've been waiting to hear. I dare say Joe Ferrone has too.
His mark was 86.
Any evidence of cheating?
You'd have heard.
No evidence of cheating.
That's right.
Shouldn't something be said, if not to me, at least to Joe Ferrone?
Why?
I'm hoping he'll stay in school.
The fact that he didn't cheat...
Should be noted.
To what purpose?
No one likes to feel unsatisfactory. That was the bell, Joe. School's out.
I heard.
Is there something?
You kept asking me to stay for a talk. Okay, I stayed. Here I am. How about it?
I see.
What do you want to say? Let's go.
Well, I've been going over your entire record, Joe, and I'm struck by the discrepancy between your capacity and your achievement.
Would you mind putting that
in English? How about, I don't understand them big words, Teach, and you could keep asking me to repeat. You could drop some books and you could rock on your heels. You could...
Okay!
This is important, Joe, to both of us.
My discrepancies?
No, your capacity.
What's it to you? Why should you even care?
I do.
That's what you told me before.
Come back next term, Joe. Don't drop out. Joe, listen.
Are you listening?
I'm trying to.
You gonna be here?
Joe,
That's a straight question.
then I have to say no.
No what?
I won't be here.
You won't be here. I see. Well, thanks anyways.
That doesn't mean that you
We
can't.
finished our talk, Miss Barrett. What makes you think you're so special? Miss Barrett, what makes you think you're so special? Are you listening? What I say? What I'm saying? I'm saying you're special. You're my teacher. So teach me. Help me. Hey, teach, which way do I go? I'm tired of going up the down staircase.
You know Tyler Champagne as a young actor, and we've just seen him perform. But Tyler has another talent. He has designed and constructed the archival display case, a project of which so many of you demonstrated approval by your overwhelming support. Your generous donations have more than covered the costs, and we thank you for this wonderful response to our quest for a suitable memorial to our first 80 years. Tyler will now come and unveil our new case. Tyler, if you please. We need a drum roll, yes we do. I think you got the most applause of the evening, Tyler, and it is a wonderful case. We have already put 3 of our favorite archives in there, including the original St. Peter's Players scrapbook, which then developed into the first Theatre Guild one. The silver tray that had been donated in honor of Pauline Grant. For actors in the One Act Festival, I believe, and the Fulford Shield, which had been donated by George D. Fulford in the early years, around 1933, and it was for the winner of the One Act plays for several years. So there's room underneath to keep other archives, to keep our other scrapbooks, and we'll have them all in one place, which is a blessing, because they've been passed around from basement to attic to spare bedroom and so on. So Tyler, we thank you. It's a wonderful piece of workmanship. I now have the keys because what's underneath will be locked at all times. We hope to have this on display in the lobby of the theater, and that's why we have a well-made case with Tyler's mother being the seamstress to cover it when it's a well-made cover for the case when it is not on display, so that we can keep it in its beautiful state. So again, thank you, Tyler. As the evening draws to a close and people begin to party, the party just starts now, do take a moment to come up and see the case. Oh, yes, the moment has come for the draw of the pearls, the beautiful pearls which have been donated by the Jewel Box in Brockville in honor of our Pearls of the Past Gala by Bill Jenkinson at the Jewel Box. We now will draw the winning ballot. Oh,
Another
hold
drum
up those
roll.
pearls. The envelope. Harvey Stewart. They'll look beautiful on you, Harvey. I hope you've taken a moment to read your program, to note the list of acknowledgements, to read the names of the committee, the letters from even Buckingham Palace, if you've noticed already. And at this time, I'd like to acknowledge someone who was helpful, too late to put into the program. But we want to add an acknowledgement with thanks to John Wilson of the To the Core Drilling, who helped Todd Noel put together this screen. And thank you, Todd, for all your hard work putting the videos together. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings this part of the evening to a close. Thank you for coming. Many I know have traveled from out of town to share these pearls from the past. It's been wonderful to see you. As Peter Jennings used to say, have a good evening and good night.